Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the AfghanEye podcast. This is our second special episode for Ramadan and COVID-19 pandemic in Afghanistan. And today with us is Modaser Islami, who is active with the Laasnewai charity in Kabul. So we will be talking about the current circumstances in Afghanistan and the activities of charities and aid organizations in order to help the most needy people in Afghanistan under current circumstances. So first of all, Modaser Islami, assalamu alaikum and welcome to the AfghanEye podcast.
Thank you very much, Sangar, for having me here.
You're welcome, and we're honored to have you here with us. So first of all, can you maybe tell us something about yourself, your background, so people, our viewers and listeners, people who don't know you yet, maybe you can tell us about what you do and how you got involved in charities and aid organizations. Please.
I have done my education here in Afghanistan and abroad, and since I returned back to Afghanistan, I have been involved in social work with different organizations, and particularly working with youth. And since last 2 years, I, together with a group of friends, started Laasnewai charity organization, which literally means helping hands, to provide assistance and support to the needy people and to the orphan and poor kids in order to be able to continue their schooling in Kabul and some other provinces.
Waleed.
Yes.
Sorry.
I thought there was a technical issue or something for a second. Sure. So Laasnewai is a charity to help young kids to continue their schooling. Do we have any specific numbers as to how many kids in Afghanistan are in school, any ratios or proportions, or is that sort of data not something that we currently have a grasp of?
I mean, UNICEF says there are at least 3 million school-age children out of school.
Okay.
Because there are not enough schools for them, because their families cannot afford their education, and several other reasons. So this is known. I mean, the data for the number of children in schools is also available, but that includes people from different ages. But what is there is that people who are in the age of enrolling in the school that are out of school for several reasons is around 3 million.
So there's around 3 million across the country. Okay, sure. So can we expect, because of COVID-19 and whatever, can we expect this number to sort of go higher due to the economic crisis that's going to be caused in Afghanistan, after this lockdown, or even during the lockdown? Is this something that is going to get worse, we can expect?
Yes, because the government schools do not have the capacity of enrolling all the children in the country, and in addition to the public schools, there are private schools, and there are schools run by NGOs that enroll a number of additional children in order to get education. With the situation that is now, the schools are closed, so this number will get increased, particularly where the private schools are affected more than the others. So those children that were provided sponsorship by the school owners or were able to find a way to get enrolled in those schools will also remain out of school.
And is this a problem that it's more concentrated in one geographic area, or is it, evenly distributed?
I think it's concentrated more in cities because there are more people in cities who rely on daily wages for their living and for their children's education. And with the lockdowns in major cities now in Afghanistan, those people will be affected, will be losing jobs, will be losing work, and businesses will be affected. So people of medium and lower income will be mainly affected in those cities.
And have you seen people affected right now? Like, what is the situation right now, like in Kabul, with day wagers and losing their jobs?
Of course, I mean, the families we have visited since the beginning of Ramadan to distribute some food packages to them. The situation is that they no longer worry about their children's education for now. Now it's the matter of survival for them to have something to eat. I mean, I remember families that told us that if they didn't receive food packages that Laasnewai provided them, they would have nothing for dinner to eat. They also said they were worried about how they will continue to live if they were not provided assistance by Laasnewai or any other groups. So the situation is critical and people are worried. There are not enough assistance, neither from the government nor from the international community. And the private sector in the small or medium initiatives that are providing assistance on voluntary basis are not adequate for all the people that are affected. So there is need for more assistance to come from all sides.
Sure. So I mean, you mentioned that government and international assistance hasn't been adequate, but have they been implemented at least at a small level? And if they have, so how have they been implemented? Has it mainly been restricted to cities or rural areas? What has generally been the approach in the last couple of days and weeks?
The approach has been that the government started distributing wheat in some of the cities.
Okay.
And it has become, unfortunately, a joke here because some of the families received 2.5 kg of wheat or maximum of 4.5 kg wheat, which the government later said it's been a pilot project and they are going to distribute more later on. Now they started to distribute bread through these bakeries in Kabul, and then they will continue doing so in other cities. But overall, people are unhappy with that distribution because it's first of all very little. And even in that little assistance, there has been cases of corruption happening on different levels. Like this bread distribution started around 2 days back, and in Kabul alone, there are cases that people started to steal the flour that was supposed to be distributed to the bakeries. So there is a question of capacity of the government distributing it to all people that are in need, because first of all, there are not exact data of the people in need with the government, and also government has not done this before for a long time. So there's a question of experience in the capacity, the equipment that's needed, and also human capital that's familiar with doing this type of work. And also, of course, there is this issue of corruption that the central government is worried that if the assistance goes in bunches to the provinces, instead of giving it to the people that deserve the aid, it will go to pockets of the people that are in charge of the affairs in different levels.
So what has Laasnewai's approach been in distributing aid? What is sort of how do you implement aid, giving out aid as a charity?
That's a very good question. But before I answer that, there are, apart from the government and the NGOs that are funded by the international community and embassies, that have been providing assistance before the spread of the coronavirus.
Okay.
But those are limited to either geographically or to the type of work they do. But because of this virus, people have got urgent need. Now they need food before education. Now they need something to eat before they get treatment in a hospital. So with that type of situation, it is more the grassroots charity and voluntary work that is needed to provide assistance to the people that deserve that assistance. Because the grassroots charity organizations will have close contact with the people, and they will have an understanding and a comprehension of who needs the assistance the most and the first. But I know very few charity organizations that have been working on a national level. There has been, there have been charity organizations led by individuals or a group of individuals that are active in a specific province or specific areas of some provinces, but lack of national charity organizations, and even the few that I know have not received any support from the government and international community in providing the type of assistance that is needed on daily basis. So Laasnewai's approach has been that before we start collecting donations, or before we actually distribute these food packages, we, with our group volunteers, did a survey of the families that were affected by this spread of the coronavirus. We also came up with some stories of those families on our social media accounts. And then we asked our friends in other countries, because this online donations service does not work in Afghanistan yet. So I asked friends in Europe and the US to start a crowdfunding page online, and we aim to support at least 50 such families during Ramadan. And alhamdulillah, it's been a month and we overpassed the target. So my suggestion will be that there are people, Afghans and non-Afghans, that are interested in helping people in Afghanistan, but they are looking for channels that are trustworthy and reliable to donate to them, and also make sure that the money and the donations go to the right people. So I'm happy that there have been several of them started in different countries, but the concern will remain. And it has always been concern that some of these donations will go to individuals that are either not familiar with the type of work the distribution needs, or have limited access to those families. So if there is a joint, let's say, fund or a joint effort to collect these different donations and distribute them through a proper mechanism, will be the best way to sort of try to help the right people.
Do you have any?
You mentioned.
Yeah. Do you have any suggestion how to coordinate all these aid efforts? Because there are so many initiatives that are started by people like in UK, in United States, here in the Netherlands, in Germany. They all go individually with their own small networks, and they start donating food and all sorts of assistance. But how would you suggest, how can they coordinate and how can they cooperate? What solutions would there be for this kind of cooperation?
I have known at least one of such mechanisms, that a charity organization that works throughout Afghanistan called Ihsas Foundation proposed to the government and the international community that they have over 10,000 volunteers across different provinces, and they're ready to cooperate with the government to distribute the aid the government is receiving. And if the government gives a chance to such charities, if not one, at least a number of them as a group, because the government, the first VP in his interview said that on humanitarian aid front, the private sector and aid organizations have been the pioneers, because the crisis is such that the government alone cannot deal with it. So it has to go out to and ask the aid organizations. So if there is a group of aid organizations that take the responsibility in coordination with the government and international communities, so that people can also trust the group of organizations and try to channelize the donations that they collect through that group of organizations. That's a proper way of doing it. I mean, Nangarhar has been a good experience for such work. Under the governor's office, the aid organizations in the NGOs and the private sector have established a fund for tackling the situation and helping families affected by the spread of the coronavirus. And there was, far from the expectations, a lot of people have contributed large amounts of money to that fund. And if government is able to mobilize other aid organizations to create a nationwide fund, people will also be mobilized from across different countries that want to help Afghanistan and will help the people in need. But the government is also insisting that they want to be in lead of the receiving funds and distributing those funds. But so far, in the past also, in the most recent instances of helping people during this crisis, the government has not been very successful in doing so. So my suggestion will be that something of that the aid organization take leads and coordinates with government and the international community will be a proper way of helping people on the humanitarian assistance front, at least.
Sure. So you said that. So obviously, this is very, very much reliant on the donations and the funds that are gathered. So you mentioned that currently this Ramadan, you're sort of supporting 50 families. What is your capacity if you were to get more donations? What kind of number would we be looking at?
We, as you know, Laasnewai is a smaller initiative, but we have contacts with other aid organizations and a youth organization that's active across the country called Najm. So if there are donations, we can coordinate with the Ihsas Foundation and Najm in order to distribute these funds across the different provinces. For now, we aim to help the families in at least 4 provinces. But because of the...
Which 4 provinces are those?
It's Kabul and Laghman and Nangarhar and Herat.
Okay. Sure. Okay. And sort of have your efforts been more successful in one or the other provinces? What has it been like? What have you seen, or what have you at least heard of from those different areas?
I mean, the majority of the help that we distribute is in Kabul city, because as I said before, the people in the city, in Kabul in particular, are more affected economically because a large number of people were reliant on daily wages, and now because shops are closed, people are stuck in houses. So, I mean, there are at least 90 to 95% of the people are losing their daily wages. So the need for assistance in Kabul city is more than any other place in the country. And I will still insist that cities are more reliant on daily help than rural areas, because rural areas have had their own problems, but at least they're reliant on their land, their fields, instead of being reliant on daily wages.
What I wanted to ask, we had in our previous episode, we talked about the fact that there are a lot of people in Kabul and other cities who are internally displaced Afghans, and we discussed how these internally displaced Afghans are mostly affected by these current circumstances. So in Kabul, have you visited any refugee camps in Kabul surroundings? Can you maybe explain what the situation is like in those really poor areas of Kabul?
Yes, I mean, there are at least two major camps of these internally displaced people in Kabul, one located in Afshar and another located in Bagrami area. And both those areas are affected economically, and you can see the people on the streets asking and begging for help, and many of those men and women on the streets are coming from those camps, because their situation got worsened with the crisis that's happening, because they were already in need for help. Now with this situation, they are critically affected. So I would agree that those that are internally displaced and have nowhere to live or are living under tents are also need attention for medical services, because the spread of the virus can happen much faster there, because people have very close contacts. They have no other way but to see each other on daily basis. So the streets are full of people, men and women from those camps begging for help, and they really need attention from all different parties during the situation.
Sure, and you mentioned that so far the government has insisted on leading any coordinated effort with charities and aid organizations and distributing aid, and you said that they haven't been very successful so far. What is the main reason that their aims have not come to fruition?
I think it's, first of all, the government is not ready for tackling a situation of this much, a situation that's this much critical. I mean, it's a shocking situation for everyone. The government of Afghanistan, with its limited capacity and limited experience of dealing with this situation, is unable to find solutions that is most effective. And also the international community's trust in government is not that high that they will provide assistance to the government to distribute them. So the international communities have their own observations about both the capacity and the systems that are in place for distribution. And people also have seen in the most recent days that the type of distribution the government is doing is not helping, because for five breads, the people are crowded on bakeries, which will
which creates more human contact. Yeah, of course, no. And I mean, it's Ramadan as well, so we're at a time when we should really be considering sort of charity and helping out those less fortunate and whatever. There are millions of Afghans around the world, people that call themselves Afghans, are of Afghan background, and feel a sense of connection to Afghanistan. What would you say, as the head of a charity, what would you say is the primary way that they can help? Especially, you've got Ramadan and as well as this Corona lockdown, and if that wasn't enough, that's also come off the back of 19 years of war. What can we do?
I think it's not only during the crisis that's happening, but as a general practice, we can have representatives, Afghan representatives in different areas or cities of different countries that would want to help people in different provinces. Let's say we say Afghans in the US or a state in the US will help the poor people in Kabul, and the people in the Afghans living in Germany, for example, will help people in Lahman or different other provinces. So if we have regular practice of collecting donations, sadaqat and zakat, and sending them through trustworthy aid organizations to the people. I mean, the Ihsas Foundation that I mentioned, apart from Laasnewai, that has been doing donations, collecting donations from different people across UK and the US. Ihsas Foundation have been receiving donations from Australia, from Canada, from the US, from the UK. So that sort of practices should regularly happen to raise funds of sadaqats and of zakats and send them through these aid organizations to the people that are in need. Because these aid organizations, instead of sending them to individuals that will have little access to people and will have little capacity to distribute to people to more people in need. So if that coordination happens, and Afghans as groups have their own representatives for submitting their donations to those representatives, and then those representatives sending their donations to the aid organizations here will help a lot to improve the situation of the people that are mostly affected by the situation in Afghanistan, the ongoing war, in the recent spread of the coronavirus.
Sure. So, Sangar, are you aware of any such organizations in the Netherlands?
Yes, we discussed it in the previous episode. We have a charity here in the Netherlands, and they are very active right now in Kabul. They are distributing aid, but I am not sure if they are connected with other charities. So I have to talk to the guys in charge in that particular charity, but your suggestion that all these charities need to cooperate and work together, it sounds like a very good solution. I would say that there needs to be some sort of leadership and campaigning so that all these charities become interconnected. However, I would love to know how how it's possible for people to put their trust and confidence in charities instead of government. Because while the Afghan government has its fair share of problems, corruption, etc., at the end of the day, when we talk about all these challenges in Afghanistan, as a solution, as a maybe a short-term solution or a long-term solution, we have all these charities and aid organizations. But how can we be sure that these charities are able to do a better job and that they are not prone to corruption or any sort of could you please explain?
Yes, that's a very good question, Sangar. See, all the major charity organizations here in Afghanistan are registered with the Ministry of Economy, with the government. And the government's job is to provide them with capacity development programs in order to increase their capacity of doing the job that they are supposed to do. And also, they are supposed to report to the government on a regular basis about their activities, the funding sources, and the type of distribution mechanisms that they have, and the transparency measures that are needed for these aid organizations. So if the government can improve their role in providing capacity, and also supervising the work of these aid organizations, and then on the other hand, let these aid organizations independently distribute these funds, it's more effective, because the aid organizations will help people without any discrimination. The government will have its own interest and will also have their own priorities, but the aid organizations will equally find out who are the people that are in need, and will distribute the assistance to them. So the government share cannot be ignored, but their role will have to be of coordination, capacity development, providing assistance, and also supervising the work of these aid organizations. Because if we have examples of like Pakistan, the Al Khidmat Foundation and the ED Foundation, and also the examples of Turkey and Malaysia, I mean, it's a great help to the government itself in improving the situation of its citizens by providing social services and social assistance.
Yes, and that's exactly a very good, it's a very good example. Charities in other countries have been very successful. Other similar countries, not exactly similar, but quite similar, like Pakistan has Al Khidmat. But here in Europe, like for instance, here in the Netherlands, we also have a Christian charity. It's a Christian evangelical charity which provides necessary aid for the homeless, refugees, people. They distribute food. They do all sorts of work, and in many parts of the country here in the Netherlands, a lot of responsibilities and tasks of the local government is delegated to these charities, because the charities are able to do a lot of work, because their staff are usually very motivated, because they have a moral and religious conviction that what they're doing is really important. So people realize that these charities are able to do a lot of good work. So that's why these governments also rely on charities. So if we have a problem in Afghanistan with the current government, it's the way it's functioning and all the challenges with war and conflict, I think that for the time being, at the current circumstances, charities have a great opportunity to provide necessary services and grow and develop, because sometimes when we talk about Afghanistan, there are so many problems, there are so many issues that will make you really depressed. It will make you think that nothing is happening and everything is bad, and it's really discouraging. But at the same time, right now, this current crisis, this pandemic, and this economic crisis in Afghanistan can be a source of despair. But at the same time, we can also say, look, as people, we cannot just go and complain all the time about government. There is actually real substantial work that we can do. We have charities. We have these organizations. Alhamdulillah, we have internet connection with the entire country. We can communicate with people. We can ask what's going on, what can be done, and how can we help. So this is an opportunity, I think, for us as people, as the Afghan diaspora, but also Afghans in Afghanistan, to become more active instead of just waiting to see how the war may end and how corruption will end. I think it's time for action. People need to become more active and start helping each other and trying to be more involved in these activities. Because, I remember first time when I talked to you, it was in 2014. Do you remember? I talked to you once. Yeah, I talked to you in 2014. Back then, I was involved in some charities here in the Netherlands, and we were involved with charities, but most of these charities here in the Netherlands were run by Arabs, by Moroccans, by Turkish people, and they would distribute aid in Syria, in Somalia, in Myanmar, Bangladesh, all these countries, okay? So some Afghans, some of my friends were also involved in these charities, and we have a quite large Afghan community in the Netherlands, about 70,000 people. And once some of these people found out that all these Afghan guys, young guys, are involved in charities, they said, "How insensitive of you. You're helping all these Arabs and Bengalis and whatnot, but you're not helping your own country." And we were shocked. We said, we would love to help Afghanistan. We want to help. We are actually helping, but we don't have an organization here in the Netherlands. People with the resources and with the contacts, they haven't done anything. So it's not that we don't want to help, but you need the network, you need a connection, you need people to talk to. You need a line of trust between people here and in Afghanistan, so that we can cooperate. And since that didn't exist back then, we couldn't do much. But now we are in a different stage. We are in a different situation. We see a lot of development in Afghanistan. Like, for instance, when you were discussing Ehsas, there are people here in Netherlands, they know Ehsas. They know that Ehsas is a huge organization. They know about Najm and all other charities as well. So I think that we have reached a stage that it's no longer necessary to just complain and say, well, everything is bad in Afghanistan and there's poverty and there's corruption, war. No, it's also time for action. We need to be much more involved in our own country.
Yes, Sangar, that's one aspect of it. Because in 60s, let's say, Afghanistan was the only, or let's say, one of the very few countries that had problems, and all the world wanted to give their zakats and sadaqas to be spent in Afghanistan. But today we have problems in almost every Muslim countries and other countries as well. And other aspect of the problem is that many people in outside Afghanistan, including some Afghans, think that because of the presence of the international community, there are, as they would say, a lot of dollars in Afghanistan, and people are rich enough and they don't need charity. in my recent trip, I was talking to an elderly person from Pakistan, and he was like, "How is the situation in Kabul?" I said, first of all, Kabul is a small city compared to the whole country, but you consider Kabul to be the whole country. You call every Afghan Kabulan. And he also said, "Is your currency dollar?" And I was like, "No, we have our own currency, and it's called AfghanEye."
Yeah.
And then he was like, "How is its worth?" And I said, "It's double the worth of Pakistani rupees." He was like, "What?" So there are people with this mindset that think that businesses in Afghanistan are run with dollars, and the international community have brought a lot of money, that every Afghan will have a bungalow, a car, and all the facilities that are needed. But the situation in Afghanistan, we admit that there has been a lot of help from the international community in different sectors. The situation in Afghanistan is such that these assistances are not enough and adequate in any way, and there is still need for people, Afghans and non-Afghans in different countries, to continue helping people here in Afghanistan.
Sure, and I think the last question I'll ask is there, if anyone wants to get in touch with Laasnewai, or if they want to donate or help out, what are the best ways to do so?
To contact us, we have a Twitter and Facebook page. There are contact numbers provided for any information and inquiries needed. We are also currently running a fundraising page on GoFundMe, which is the link is available on Laasnewai.
Yes, we will share the link to the.
We'll put all of the links in the description box.
Yes, that will be great, Sangar and Waleed. And we are also, apart from the urgent help that we are providing to the families affected by this pandemic during Ramadan and afterwards, we, as I said in the beginning, are providing sponsorship to orphan children continuing education. So, donations for that type of work can also be provided in Laasnewai. And we have regular reporting to our donors to ensure that the donors are aware of how their money is spent and where their money is spent and what impact their funds are making. So we are available through internet and through the contact numbers that are provided in the bios of those pages.
Sure. And I think we'll wrap that up there. So thank you very much, Modaser, for coming on our podcast. It was an honor to have you. And I'm sure myself, Sangar, and the viewers, everyone will be very happy to know about Laasnewai, those of us that didn't know in particular. And I think we'll wrap that up there. Thank you to everyone that's subscribed to our YouTube channel and to those who donated to our Patreon page and follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel. The link to Laasnewai and the inquiry handles and the contact details will all be in the description box. Modaser's Twitter @handle is already there.
No, I put it's Laasnewai's handle because
Okay, sure. No worries.
Okay.
We'll put Laasnewai's handle there.
Yeah.
All of the other links in the bio. And that's all from us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you very much for selecting this important topic for this.
You're welcome.
It's our honor. The pleasure is ours.
Assalamu alaikum.